Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. Come and join us for one of the live shows. What are your rights as a Canadian? Or do you just have a bunch of privileges that they can revoke whenever they want? Let's take a look. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Most Canadians think they know their criminal law legal rights. And you'd be wrong about that. Many Canadians get those rights wrong. And here today we're time to break down why Canadians get their legal rights wrong. We're going to go through the top 5 legal rights that they typically get wrong. So first of all, the biggest one I find is you don't have to answer police questions. A lot of people think the police approach you on the street, you have to answer their questions, you have to cooperate. If you saw a crime, you have to cooperate. You don't. Whether you're charged, whether you're a witness, you do not have to answer those questions. There's only very narrow exceptions to that. In a traffic stop, if you're the driver, you have to provide your identification, your license, insurance, registration. If you're under arrest, you have to identify yourself in the same manner, and that's all. You don't say anything else, and that's what any lawyer is going to tell you. Shut up. Don't talk to the police. You don't have to talk to them, unless you want to. I mean, if you're a witness to a crime, morally you may feel that you want to, but you may not. That's totally up to you. Secondly, this is one that police get, I should say the public gets wrong all the time. The police cannot search your phone without a search warrant. That's your basic right. Certainly when you're arrested, they can seize your phone as part of the arrest, but they can't go scrolling through it and search it. They need to get a search warrant. Only if they have reasonable and probable grounds that you've committed a crime that's going to be stated on your phone, like hiring a hitman or doing a drug transaction or engaging in a minor for sexual relations as an example, they'd have to get a search warrant and do an analysis of your phone. There's very narrow exceptions to that, and they rarely apply. The one exception, for example, is if they feel there's some sort of imminent crime going to happen that they need to stop. For example, it's called exigent, E-X-I-G-E-N-T, circumstances of emergency, where they need to see who you've texted on that phone, for example, to kill someone. How often does that apply? So they can't search your phone without a warrant typically, unless that narrow exception applies. And you don't have to give them your password. If they ask for the password, don't give it to them. That's totally up to you, of course, but that's your right. Very misunderstood right. Thirdly, you don't have to let the police in your home without a search warrant. The police show up at your home and they say, we're coming in. Well, do you have a search warrant? No. No, you're not coming in. Close the door. Done deal. But you can consent. Many people in that situation, the police will say, oh, do you mind if we look around? And they don't know what to do. They panic and they let them in, and then they find evidence of a crime or not. Police rummage through their stuff and wreck their home for a while. You don't have to let them in your home. That's a very misunderstood right. And they should produce a search warrant and then, of course, cooperate and let them in and stand by and let them do the search. You have no choice at that point. Fourthly, a lot of people don't realize that you're allowed to film the police in public. So it's the day of the iPhone, cell phones, people do this. As long as you're not interfering with an arrest or interfering with them, you're in a public place, you stand back, you can perfectly film. If they demand you give them the film, you don't have to. They shouldn't be doing that, by the way. That's your right to film the police in public, as long as you're not interfering with their duties. So for example, you're right in the face during arrest and they can't even arrest the person. You could get charged with obstruct justice then. Fifthly, this is a little bit similar to the States, a little bit different. A lot of people don't realize we have a right to a speedy trial here. That's the State's terminology, but I'll use that terminology. A lot of people think it. It's really in Canada under Section 11B of the Charter. You have a right to be tried within a reasonable period of time. That's a guaranteed right. And the timelines are this. In the Ontario Court of Justice, Ontario, the lower court, from the date the information is sworn against you until the completion of your trial, that has to be completed within 18 months. In the Superior Court of Justice, it's from the date of information to the completion of trial, a little longer, 30 months. If that delay is caused by lack of judicial resources, not getting disclosure to you, etc., lack of courtrooms, lack of judges, lack of Crown attorneys, that's going on a little bit in the province, believe me, I do another video about that. That case will potentially get tossed out because your lawyer would bring a Section 11B charter application for trial delay, and hopefully get the matter stayed for you if it's beyond those timelines. Of course, sometimes defense counsel causes delay because they sit in their hands. Those times would be subtracted from that. So that we're talking about systemic resource delay due to lack of resources, lack of judges, lack of crown attorneys, delayed disclosure, delayed getting things to you. We have fairness, getting speedy trials in Canada.
Oh yeah.
In this video, we'll be discussing the rights and freedoms that Canadians enjoy. Let's jump right in. In 1982, Canada introduced the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, a constitutional document that sets out the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Canadians. This charter is an essential part of our legal system and ensures that every citizen is protected. So, what are these rights and freedoms that Canadians hold dear? Let's break them down. The first section of the Canadian Charter is dedicated to fundamental freedoms. These include freedom of conscience and religion, freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, freedom of peaceful assemblies, and freedom of association. These freedoms allow Canadians to express themselves, practice their religion, and peacefully gather to voice their opinions. Whether it's participating in a peaceful protest or joining an association that aligns with your values, Canadians have the right to express themselves and engage in activities that matter to them. The next section of the Charter outlines the democratic rights of Canadians. These rights include the right to vote in elections, the right to run for public office, and the right to participate in the democratic process. These rights form the foundation of our democracy, ensuring that every Canadian has a say in the governance of our country. Every few years, Canadians exercise their democratic rights by casting their votes in federal, provincial, and municipal elections. It's a privilege that allows citizens to shape the future of their communities and the nation as a whole. The Canadian Charter also guarantees mobility rights to its citizens. These rights ensure Canadians can move and reside anywhere within the country, pursue opportunities, and contribute to various regions without facing discrimination based on their place of origin or residence. From coast to coast, Canadians can explore the vast beauty of our country, migrate for work or educational purposes, and build their lives wherever they choose. The Charter also upholds important legal rights for all Canadians. These rights include the presumption of innocence, the right to a fair trial, and protection against unreasonable search and seizure. These legal rights ensure that everyone is treated fairly under the law. In Canada, the legal system is designed to safeguard the rights of the accused, promote justice, and ensure that individuals are given a fair trial. Last but not least, the Charter enshrines equality rights. These rights ensure that all individuals are equal before and under the law, regardless of race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, or mental or physical disability. Canada celebrates its multiculturalism and promotes inclusivity. Equality rights are a cornerstone of our society, fostering a diverse and inclusive nation where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. These rights and freedoms, enshrined in the Canadian Charter, form the bedrock of our nation. They protect and empower Canadians to live their lives freely and contribute to the betterment of society. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the rights and freedoms enjoyed by Canadians. Remember, these rights come with responsibilities. Let's cherish and safeguard them for the benefit of all.
Oh yeah.
The idea of human rights is that each one of us, no matter who we are or where we are born, is entitled to the same basic rights and freedoms. Human rights are not privileges, and they cannot be granted or revoked. They are inalienable and universal. That may sound straightforward enough, but it gets incredibly complicated as soon as anyone tries to put the idea into practice. What exactly are the basic human rights? Who gets to pick them? Who enforces them, and how? The history behind the concept of human rights is a long one. Throughout the centuries and across societies, religions, and cultures, we have struggled with defining notions of rightfulness, justice, and rights. But one of the most modern affirmations of universal human rights emerged from the ruins of World War II with the creation of the United Nations. The treaty that established the UN gives as one of its purposes to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights. And with the same spirit, in 1948, the UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This document, written by an international committee chaired by Eleanor Roosevelt, lays the basis for modern international human rights law. The Declaration is based on the principle that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. It lists 30 articles recognizing, among other things, the principle of non-discrimination and the right to life and liberty. It refers to negative freedoms, like the freedom from torture or slavery, as well as positive freedoms, such as the freedom of movement and residence. It encompasses basic civil and political rights, such as freedom of expression, religion, or peaceful assembly, as well as social, economic, and cultural rights, such as the right to education and the right to freely choose one's occupation and be paid and treated fairly. The Declaration takes no sides as to which rights are more important, insisting on their universality, indivisibility, and interdependence. And in the past decades, international human rights law has grown, deepening and expanding our understanding of what human rights are and how to better protect them. So if these principles are so well developed, then why are human rights abused and ignored time and time again all over the world? The problem, in general, is that it is not at all easy to universally enforce these rights or to punish transgressors. The UDHR itself, despite being highly authoritative and respected, is a declaration, not a hard law. So when individual countries violate it, the mechanisms to address those violations are weak. For example, the main bodies within the UN in charge of protecting human rights mostly monitor and investigate violations, but they cannot force states to, say, change a policy or compensate a victim. That's why some critics say it's naive to consider human rights a given in a world where state interests wield so much power. Critics also question the universality of human rights and emphasize that their development has been heavily guided by a small number of mostly Western nations, to the detriment of inclusiveness. The result? A general bias in favor of civil political liberties over socio-political rights, and of individual over collective or groups' rights. Others defend universal human rights laws and point at the positive role they have on setting international standards and helping activists in their campaigns. They also point out that not all international human rights instruments are powerless. For example, the European Convention on Human Rights establishes a court where the 47 member countries and their citizens can bring cases. The court issues binding decisions that each member state must comply with. Human rights law is constantly evolving, as are our views and definitions of what the basic human rights should be. For example, how basic or important is the right to democracy or to development? And as our lives are increasingly digital, should there be a right to access the internet? A right to digital privacy? What do you think?
Oh yeah.
We'll wrap it up right there, gang. Aaron, Canadian Looney, we work really hard on this channel about Canadian federal politics, and everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. Get yours right here. Like, share, subscribe, get notified. Come join us for one of the live shows. We do a lot of those. That's it. Till the next time. We'll catch you in one of the next videos. There's other ones floating around here. Click on one of those. Who knows what you'll learn. Ciao for now.